me see. Okay. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Please, I don't see you. I see just the presentation. So if there are questions during the presentation, please stop me. I'm not gonna see you, and I'm sorry for that. Thank you, Jan, for the organization of this meeting that is about the qualitative needs analysis that is at the basis of our work together in making these educational materials for professionals. The aim of this task, that is the first task, is first of all to assess on the one hand the potentialities, the risk that our territories are facing, and on the other hand also to understand what are the actually cultural and professional needs that the professionals in our sector, in this particular sector of tourism have, and we should address in our material. Sorry for the howling of the dog. Unfortunately, it seems the spring arrived also here. This is myself. I'm Michele Fontefrancesco. I'm an assistant professor of anthropology here at the University of Gastronomic Sciences. And above all, I'm a specialist in local development and in tourism. My previous work in the past 10 years dealt with local development in rural areas, both in Europe and Eastern Africa and Iran. It's always about how to use food as a resource for developing our rural areas, surpassing problems concerning ethnicity, concerning logistics, concerning, first of all, the needs of knowledge linked with the new trends of the touristic sector. So, what is the task? Well, the task is indeed to try to understand fully what are the needs our areas in our professional have. So you should have already received the short document, that exact summary that I produced for you, that encompass all the tasks and also the materials that we're gonna use in order to collect the information we need. So I assume that you had a look already to this document, and so for that reason I'm gonna take from this document, try to explain better what is behind the different action we required. As you have seen, overall, the process of acquisition of information moves in 3 times, following 3 different periods that comes, let's say, first of all, with the preliminary work, then the phase of the focus group, and finally, the phase of the summarizing and then sharing information that you got through the focus groups. In particular, what kind of information do we need to understand the needs? Well, first of all, we need some contextual information concerning the different regions. All of our partners, but 2 of us are in different countries that shares common dynamics, but also they have very specific needs and characteristics. So this is the reason actually why we ask each partner, that includes also us, to work together in, first of all, collecting information concerning the region. This is quite an amount of information, as you can see when I speak about 2,500 words, roughly speaking. Then if it's 2,000, it's going to be all right. I'm talking about something like 10 pages of description of the situation of your region. When I speak about region, just to be sure to, I'm asking on the same time, at the same time, information concerning the country, and specifically the area where you are operating and you are conducting your research. So I'm not actually aiming at having just information concerning the administrative area called region, but rather, let's say, that quadrant that makes sense concerning the place where you are. So the information I'm gonna give you are not, for example, just about the region Piedmont, but rather than I'm gonna look at northwestern Italy. I expect a similar approach to all of us. Why this thing? Okay, Italy is a bit particular in the map of Europe because we see a structural division between the north and the south that makes the north be connected with the central Europe and many trends that are similar to the continent, while southern Italy is indeed a Mediterranean region. So the point is to try to appreciate these differences that are among our different areas and acquire more information to contextualize the information we're going to gather from the informants. In particular, this information concerning the different regions are important in terms of the overall analysis of our information, the information we get. Because the attempt of our project is to create a base of knowledge that can be shared across Europe and not just useful for a single country. In this respect, also the need analysis will be run by us as a main task we conduct in the project. And we need some more information to understand better what the informant could face in everyday life, because unfortunately I don't know, I'm not familiar with all the different territories where you are located. Some of the region where you stay are places that I spend part of my life, so I'm quite familiar with the trends, but others are completely unknown. And even the same thing works with my collaborators. So this is the reason why we have so many information. Plus, just to be clear, all the information we are collected in terms of also these records we feel are going to be part of the handbook that is the milestone of this task. So it's not just, let's say, for the sake of documentation, but rather it is an important part of the final output of this work package. So first of all, this preliminary profiling of the region, and these are the kind of information that I will expect in that you discuss. So beside, let's say, more simple summary of where is the place, what is the country, what is the population, and of course also breadth in terms of square kilometers. What I would like to know is more about the general trend of the country. What are the attractions that tourists visit in your area? What are the main trends in your area, and what are the facilities that people find? Of course, question about sources. I'm not expecting that you are all familiar with every single aspect I listed, but there are a number of resources that every year are produced by local and national agencies or ministry, and they are, let's say, the main sources. This is also, there is another important part of the story that is about the language. Of course, we are coming from countries that do not actually speak the same language, but we use English as a lingua franca. So many of these resources are actually inaccessible for the other partners, and not to talk about the other professional outside the country. So this is actually a useful exercise in order to make available data, stats, and insights that may be at the center of the public debate in each individual region or country, but are quite foreign to the other partners. So this is actually the first level of work. And this kind of information, I call it preliminary, but can be completed by the end of all these tasks. I mean, it's useful to needed to have this information when we gonna have collected all the results of the focus groups. So don't feel in a desperate rush for completing this this simple description, but rather let's consider that we have slightly more time to complete this part. Then we start. Sorry.
Yes, that's one question about references and resources.
Yep.
You say that the document should be in English, right? Which is
yes, please. Well,
okay.
I'm happy with French and Italian as well, but let's say since the project in English, better to have everything in English.
Yes, of course. About our production in English is okay, but if some resources are in French, and translate,
it's fine. I'm expecting, references in references to document in Greek, in Bulgarian, in Turkish. I mean, in Italian. This is a matter of having the list of possible publications that are at the basis of the information we provide. Instead, the other, let's say, 2,500 words are indeed a synthesis of the data that are available in those resources. So don't worry, it's perfectly fine to cite resources that are in your native languages.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. In terms of style, let's say we have to decide what kind of style, citation style we can use. I have no particular preferences if we want to use Chicago, MLA, APA. One is insofar there are all the information required, so we can also change and make everything uniformly to the same style. The importance is to have, roughly speaking, the same style. What I would suggest is the use of the MLA, but this is just a matter of my preferences. It's not something that I decided or imposing to you. We can actually agree on a particular style. I'm completely open to any kind of suggestion. If you have preferences, otherwise I'm gonna send you a suggestion and hoping that you can find it useful.
Okay, maybe we suggest something, then we can all agree on the template.
Okay. I'm gonna send you it by tomorrow. Okay. So, is there any other question concerning the kind of information you should consider for completing this part of the task?
No, it's clear.
Okay. Perfect. In any case, please do not hesitate to write me if you see you are not sure. There are things that you may not know whether or not is relevant and so on. Just write me an email. There is in my signature there is also my telephone number is linked to my mobile phone, so you can call me wherever you want, and I'm gonna answer also to the calls. So let's say this is the first piece of information we need. The other thing is instead actually about the focus group itself. The preliminary part of the focus group is indeed about finding people for our focus group. So I'm asking, roughly speaking, 10 people from each partner. From SMEs, better if small firms in this particular sector, and in NGOs or other agencies, ministry, or let's say other businesses that are related to this form of tourism that is at the heart of our project, that is indeed culinary proximity tourism in the rural areas in our part. Why 10? Because actually means to organize a couple of focus group for each partner that is not that time consuming and complex, and it allows also to have a different number of point of view. My only suggestion is try the best you could not to take people that are related one to the other, if it's possible. There could be situation that actually doesn't allow such differentiation. I give you some example of possible firms or business or other let's say organization that you can involve. Of course, we go from restaurants to hotels, agritourism, bed and breakfast, wineries and farms that have food production, touristic promotion agencies, local NGOs involved in the touristic development of the area, professional schools. These are, let's say, the main, let's say, organization I was thinking. Why? Well, actually, because they are the main protagonist of the sector. And you can, and I will definitely suggest to involve actually people that have, let's say, an exec position. So owner, entrepreneurs, or also directors or people that have responsibility in the business. Why? Well, actually, because they are indeed the decision maker and the one that develop the sector. So are the actual people that we have to understand the most in terms of their needs, worries, aspiration, expectations, and so on and so forth. You see that I not asking politicians, not many public officers. Well, to keep, let's say, our reflection, let's say, slightly away from the political debate, but looking actually to the true needs of these people, or at least what they're gonna represent to us. Just to be sure and clear, I'm not that naive thinking that all the people that we are going to involve are going to say completely what they think, that there is not going to be some sort of filter between what they actually think and experience and what they reproduce, knowing that these information that we are collecting are for a European project, are for the development of educational resources. But I am also pretty much sure that although mediated is going to be franker than a discourse made with, let's say, public officials or even worse with politicians in exec roles. This is the reason of the sampling. Again, if you have questions, please let me know. So what to do? Well, after yes.
Sorry, a question. It must be 10 different kind of enterprises, or can be, for example, 2 restaurants,
Beautiful,
3 hotels.
Beautiful question. I gonna answer just here, and then I move back. The idea is to have a focus group with, let's say, 4 or 5 people the people should be, let's say, what you should include is, as I wrote in the paper, roughly speaking, 70% of them involved in the business. So hotels, restaurants, or other activities that are linked with the tourist and hospitality sector. The other 30% about the other stakeholders. You can, each of us, in terms of the composition of our regions, may be very different one for the other. So, for example, there are countries where still nowadays rural tourism is linked with small hotels. There are other countries where instead of having hotels, we have more bed and breakfast and other tourism. Other that, okay, I cannot anticipate the very peculiarities of the place where you are working. So it's up to you to create a sample of 7 people that, let's say, cover most of the typology of activities that are linked with this form of tourism. I'm not sure if this actually this answer completely satisfy your question.
Okay, so we want as much more as possible different kind of enterprises.
If it's
but
possible.
It's not a problem if it is 2 restaurants in the
No,
whole.
no, not at all.
Group.
I will expect, for example, a small restaurant, a medium large one, or one that is, for example, a Michelin restaurant, and the other one instead that is more like a family-owned business for locals. So let's say, fine having different restaurants. I'm not not asking you to cover all the categories, just and only the most relevant for your place.
Okay, perfect.
I may imagine that, considering that, I mean, beside Turkey, but also that, I mean, I think that there are going to be for sure some farms that are involved in hospitality and creating tours. There are restaurants and there are some places that offer hospitality. But the typology is up to you to decide.
Sorry, just a question.
Yep.
Do you already have a sort of script or some questions or relevant topics? Okay.
Yes, of course. I'm gonna speak about it just later on. Let's start from the selection, the information of our informants, and then we look at the management. And talking about the management of the focus group, I just point out the question that I would like to use for the discussion. So, okay, so yes, and
sorry. One more question, if I can.
Well, it's right. This is the time for Q&A.
Do you have an exactly idea about what you exactly mean for rural areas? I mean, how many population must have the areas, and how many people involved in this kind of tourism? If you are talking about cities or little village or something like that.
Okay, good question. Fantastic question, I would have to say. Unfortunately, there is no, a meter that we can use for sure across even our countries, single countries, not to talk about Europe. For sure, I will not consider the main cities as a rural. I will consider rural a territory where the main use of the land is linked with agriculture or preservation. So I will distinguish on the basis of that. I will not speak about percentages, but also because, just to make an example, if I talk about north of Italy, we live in regions where there is a very high intensity of urbanization. That means that there are municipalities or a settlement every 1 kilometer one to the other. So, but they are very small, and most of the land is still used for agricultural purposes. So I would consider it still rural. If you go in the center of Anatolia, well, for example, is a completely different landscape where indeed you struggle to find a city, and then there is a lot of rural areas in terms of fields or lands that is not used, and again a settlement. Both of them are, let's say, not urban. So for exclusion, I can call them rural in this sort of opposition between the rural and the urban.
And I was talking about, for example, places like Maremma, around Grosseto, etc. It's full of little beautiful countries, a little village like Scansano, Magliano, etc. And they are rural 100%, and they have a strong tradition for tourism, rural tourism, agritourism, etc. Could be okay for the project or not?
I would say so. I will definitely say so. These are the same stories with the Côte d'Azur. If you go just outside the Marseille, moving toward Grasse, you find places that are indeed urbanized, but it turns to be more and more, less and less urbanized, and more with forest, with the woods, and so on and so forth. So yes, I will consider that. Let's say I will not consider Grosseto as a rural.
Yeah.
Going back to the main city of the area, as I will not consider the main cities of my areas as a rural. But for example, I make this example concerning my city. I'm grown up in Alessandria, the northwest, just 1 hour far from the border with France. The city of Alessandria is a municipality that is one of the largest municipalities in Piedmont. It's a city of 95,000 inhabitants. The city itself encompasses just a tenth of the municipality, and includes 80,000 people. But the remaining 15,000 are just sparse around a huge countryside. So maybe the hamlets around Alessandria, I will consider them rural, the village where I live. I will not consider the center of the city as rural, because
of course
it doesn't make sense. I know that this category is tricky, but unfortunately there is no solution with that. It's still and is always tricky for that.
No problem. So little village, something like around Grosseto, it could be good.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Again, it's we're gonna discover it later when we enter into the field. What I've learned working in 3 continents. At the end of the day, is always tricky to define where is the pure rural. I don't believe there is a pure rural place. But of course, we can recognize the presence of a fundamental resource that is landscape, and this landscape that is characterized by the presence of plants, woods, agricultural activities, these things that are generally not within the perimeter of a metropolis.
Okay.
Any other question? May I move on?
Yeah. Will you send us these slides?
All the materials are already in the file I sent you through UNL a few days ago, but I have no problem to send also the slides.
Okay.
We can. Okay. By the way, I'm gonna, at the end of this call, I'm gonna send to all of you again, the exact summary, the slides, the PDF of the slides, plus also another document that I'm not going to discuss much today, that is a description of what is a focus group, what are the difficulties, what are the potentialities. So let's say some further methodological tool to understand better what is a focus group in case you are not that familiar with a focus group. So you're gonna find this bundle of 3 PDF. As I said, just wait a few minutes, the time to make this presentation into a PDF and send you all the materials, so you're gonna have everything by the night. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, may I move on?
Yeah, Michele, can you, about the material?
Yes.
Instead of sending by email, maybe can you send it on the, can you post it on the Google Drive?
Okay.
So that everyone has access to it.
Drive. Okay, I send you just an email to the link to the Google Drive so that
Okay.
you have both. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Definitely welcome. Okay, so first of all, we said 10 people is the number of people I want. Then if so one of you find some more people, so you want to organize 3 focus group, is not a problem. Okay, what I say is the minimum number is roughly speaking 10. And this is quite enough to have a picture from different countries, so to understand if there is, and if in the case of there is, what kind of common pattern is there. So after having selected these people, I need you to make a small description of each participant. That is about the story of this person. Is something that you can actually compile with them without problem. Is just to explain to me and to my colleagues that are going to run the analysis what is the angle from which the person is speaking. Is it a junior person, a junior professional that just started a few years ago, or is a senior figures, is old, is young? This is the idea. These are the thing I'm asking. There is no a precise number of words that I expect from, let's say, the last 3 feeds. Is not a mistake, is just up to you to give me the basic information. I don't need the full biography. I need just information to understand, okay, this is a professional with 20 years of experience across the world, nowadays working in this village XYZ, just after a turn of his career. Fine, great. So 100 words is more than enough. I don't want to put you limits in terms of if you want to tell more about this informant, because the informant wants to tell you more, definitely fine. But I need few information just to understand the thing. So fundamental question are about the main step of professional career, the motivation that led you in the sense of the profession to all the current position, and the ways in which this person has learned the trade. So why I'm asking that story? Well, actually, because I want to understand also what is the cursus honorum, the normal career of people in the business. Is it based, for example, on high school education? Is based on vocational studies? What is the turning point or the turning points that these people have in order to enter into the tourism industry? For example, is it crucial to be a person that have studied at least for a bachelor in tourism, or you get into the tourism sector after years making other trades and just willing to embrace the dream of having your own restaurant, following the model of MasterChef. Well, why I'm asking that also because if we have a clear what is important in terms of educational institution that are active in this sector, it's easier for us also to understand the level of information we need to provide them. If it's something quite basic, because actually we discovered that most of these people have no training at all, but what they have seen in the television and what they have learned by doing, or they need a more advanced research because they are already professional, but they need just the last update. Okay, this is why I'm asking you this information. In terms of what's going on in Northwest Italy, I can already tell you after 10 years studying this story, for example, we discovered that many times restaurant owners are not people that have studied at all in the in any educational institution that provide courses in hospitality. They are generally people that decide to enter in this business after, in particular in the rural areas, after other professional experience. They learn some information by training in the kitchen or most of the time just copying other restaurants. So I am gonna have in front of me a public of people that indeed need quite basic information, even information that may appear quite banal, that is the basics concerning who is your target, where you are placing your business, what are the possible clients where, and what you are providing them, and what is the kind of tools you use to reach them, and so on and so forth. So just to give you information and an example. Any question about this preliminary work?
No, it's okay.
Sorry, may I ask? I have a question.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay, you want this description as a text or, for example, with bullets? What are the main steps? 1, 2, 3, 4. What is more convenient for you?
Okay, let's say the clearest, the better. Okay, please. I tend to use quite a lot of humor in my life, so I don't want to appear rude or whatever. Just consider myself consider a person outside your place. If I have something clear, I don't need a novel. Even if you're a fantastic writer, please don't. Give me something that is understandable. And in particular, give me the information in a way that well, just remember, I'm a damn foreigner, so I have no clue about some differences, some nuances concerning the kind of school the kind of education that provides the school. So give me, let's say, information to understand exactly what you mean. So, for example, if I tell you a professional school in Italy means something. A professional school in the UK, where I worked for years, means completely other things, because for us, a professional school is a vocational training academy that aims to provide higher education to people that cannot access or don't want to access other, let's say, path in higher education, but they generally finish after 3 years, not even completing the high school curricula. In the UK, when you speak about professional schools, people think about the medical school or the law school that are, let's say, higher education academies. That is quite a different story. So make the thing quite easy to for me to digest this kind of information. In particular, for many of your countries, I don't have the possibility of accessing directly the information. So I don't speak Bulgarian, don't speak Turkish, I don't speak Greek, but I read it. But it's difficult for me to get other sources to balance this information. So it's up to you, and I'm sure that in case I'm not sure about some information, I'm gonna write you, say, okay, what do you mean there? Or is it correct what I understand, and so on and so forth. So bullet point, fine. If you want to write a paragraph, again, it's fine. Insofar it's easy to understand. Did I answer you?
Okay, yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
Yes, Michele.
Yep.
Maybe I lost some parts, but how many profiles do we need to collect?
One for each informant, and I'm asking you, roughly speaking, 10 informants. So
Okay.
let's keep 10 as the number we want from each one. Then if for different reason you should involve 12 people, it's fine.
Okay.
If for strange reason, so one of the 10 just at the last moment drop, you ended up having only 9, it's not the best of the world. It will be not that acceptable, but it's fine again.
Okay,
So,
more or less 10, about
10.
10. Okay.
Let's say 10. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other question? Okay, may I move on?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So, and finally, we reach the point of the focus group. Okay. There are different countries involved in this project. Of course, the database we can produce is quite limited, and I'm not, I do not consider the possibility of creating something that is statistically appropriate or perfect at all. But I really believe that using common sense, we can create a sample that at least can provide us quite good qualitative data concerning the main trends. So let's say it's the most economical way of creating a base of knowledge that is useful to complete the task, the one that I'm tackling. I'm asking to use the focus group discussion technique rather than interviews. Why? Well, actually, I don't know how much are you familiar with the focus group. Did you run any focus group discussion before?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So if you are familiar with the focus group, you know, there are two things that comes from the focus group. One thing is information from the single participant, but the most interesting thing is actually the discussion. So this is also about having a diverse sample of people, so people of different businesses, and so that giving you the answer, they can, let's say, open different perspective. So the idea is having two focus group discussions, so two panels, each one of them a couple of hours long, shorter if is needed, no longer than 2 hours. That means that everything works fine in a couple of days or in just one day. You can manage all the focus groups. I don't ask any particular location for the focus group. Try to find the most convenient location. I don't know how it's going on with the pandemic, so let's say let's keep, if it's possible, in person. If it's not possible in person, fine to do it online. I'm not that enthusiastic of the online, just because it depends really on the attitude and experience of our informants. Most of the people in front of a camera tends to be more uncomfortable, rigid, not really open in the answer. So it's slightly more complex to have good participation. While instead, if you are actually in the same room with them, most of the time is our human nature that is triggered, and we start participating more and more. And in particular, it's quite clear if someone is uncomfortable, so we can create the condition for these people to feel more at home, and then means to open up. 2 hours means, roughly speaking, for questions. For questions that are the main question, then is up to you or your colleagues to facilitate the debate by eliciting comments, by clarifying the question if the question is not perfectly understood, and so on and so forth. The idea is having everybody first of all tell, or better, share a first opinion about the question, and a second round of comments. So that is 30 minutes. Giving 3-5 minutes each one for each round means 25 plus, roughly speaking, 25 minutes, 30 minutes each question. Again, I say, look, 30 minutes and no more than 2 hours. Again, we are all, most of us at least, can be considered fully Mediterranean countries, and we know exactly that if someone is actually using 2 hours and 10 minutes is not a tragedy. So it's not a matter of we are lack of oxygen and this is 2 hours full stop. But it's better to keep it in 2 hours and not making longer, because otherwise it's becoming more and more difficult to get the useful data for us. What I ask you is to have an audio recorder for each session, not because I want the recording, but actually because I might need to have extra information or clarification on the data you're gonna send me, and I'm gonna see later and show you later the method of transmission of the data. So it's useful for you to have this recording at the end. Information, again, this recording is in terms of privacy is held by you, not by me. So you are going to be the person that deal with, let's say, the protection of data. It should be made clear to all the participants the reason of this research and also the use of data. So explain that the recording is held by you, that the information are going to be anonymized, of course, at the end of the process. I ask you name, contacts, just for the matter of the analysis. After when we're going to turn from, let's say, the initial information to the final version, everything is going to be anonymized by using pseudonym and so on and so forth. So for the most I can and the most we can, the privacy of an individual is going to be protected. It's not required formal consent, written formal consent. If you have forms, fine, you can use it. It's enough to have the recording which the participants say, yes, it's fine, you can record, I'm happy to participate in this project. The recording is in most of our countries in Europe is more than enough in terms of explicit consent. Sorry for this, let's say, ultra bureaucratic part, but is just something that is becoming more and more important in the past few years. So what I expect from you is not the transcript of the entire discussion, but is a substantial summary of what is discussed, and a summary that should be provided in English. So how to provide the summary? We're going to use a table. You're going to find also in PDF a table that is actually divided in the question and the actually contribution of each single person. So this is actually the idea, plus a space for notes in case of particular things that happen during the discussion that is not just about one or the other, but is more about the discussion or other comments that you want to communicate us. In terms of the question, you're going to see 4 questions. What are the main assets? What are the needs? What are let's say the impact of the pandemics, and what are the best strategies for the actor, for the, let's say, these economic players to create a thriving environment for businesses. So is indeed a process, a path that move from their knowledge and their system of beliefs connected with their territory to their point of view on the needs, and then the emergent scenario linked with the pandemics, first of all, and then, of course, there is going to be also all the questions concerning the war in terms of changing tourism flows, lack of Russian tourists in this summer for sure, or the risk of having a conflict on the Black Sea, and so on and so forth. So, and finally, their point of view on the possibilities of creating an alliance with other stakeholders or shareholder of the tourist sector. So you see the movement. As I say, their point of view, because of course you realize quite well that this kind of information can be somehow compared with the information you collected in the narrative concerning the region. So I'm gonna have the information concerning the main trend, let's say the more objective narrative concerning tourism and agritourism in tourism in the rural areas in your countries, in your area, and on the other hand, the point of view of the natives, or if you prefer, the point of view of the people that deals with tourism. So this comparison is going to be crucial to understand indeed if there is an alignment between the point of view and the main narrative. If there is a disalignment, there could be a matter of perception, misperception, or actually the view of that anticipate the trends that are not still understood and portrayed in the official reports. So these are more or less the information. As I said, you see the report, the focus group report sheet is divided in the 4, let's say, in the 4 questions. Sorry for the mistake in the paging, but you understand more or less how it works. Questions?
Question. Is it related to what kind of people it's okay for the interview? I mean, maybe it's difficult for us to find 10 people from this exactly the same village. I mean, village is something like.
I'm not asking. Okay, great question. I'm not asking you to work on a single village. Let's say I'm expecting you working on a province level or a regional level. Let's say something that is wider scale, but is significant. The decision of working on a single village is tricky, or you have a perfect case study that is well, really deeply representative of the main trends. But what I would suggest is more to look at a broader, let's say, region. For example, I'm planning to work on the on Piedmont, and in particular in the southern part, that is the UNESCO area, or at least area that is touched by different UNESCO sites, still quite rural, linked with particular products that are quite renowned, like wet truffle, red wine such as Barolo Barbaresco. So this kind of area that is quite indicative of, let's say, northwest Italy in general. Of course, in the area where I'm working, there is not going to be the asset of the sea because of, well, the area where we are working and we can work. Plus, let's say, we do not have particular resources on this task in terms of organizing things. So it's more about the proximity of your place. Try to give a good description of why this area can be indicative of broader trend in the nation, and then working not in a single village, but rather, well, 50 square kilometer, 50 kilometers radium, I would say 30 kilometer radium. So it's up to you to give us something that makes sense and explain me why this selection makes sense at the end of the day. I cannot validate your selection. What I can do is, if you want, you have an idea, with this, you come back to me, say, we have this idea, does it work, doesn't work, what should we do differently, if there is anything to do differently. This kind of feedback is something that I can give you quite easily.
Okay, so, perfect. But anyway, we are talking about the same region and 50 kilometers of radius. It's not possible to work, for example, with Tuscany and with Puglia.
Well, look, as I said before, I'm not talking about region as an administrative region. So I'm not talking about political boundaries. If you are talking about, for example, north of Puglia, and you want to include also some villages that are in the province of, well, Isernia, or in the province of Potenza, it's fine, insofar that there is a reason why you are doing that. So,
yeah, but we need, in this case, we need two different assets, preliminary asset about the local contest and all the information you told at the beginning of the meeting.
Well, again, just not forget what I said before. I'm not talking about administrative region. So if you are talking about the southeast Italy,
yeah,
that's all. You don't have to make 3 or 4, depending on which where we put Abruzzo. That is always a matter of discussion. So we are talking about a quadrant, if you want. For sure, and these are up to you to understand if indeed you are targeting correctly, or you are just talking about something smaller. So when I speak, for example, for our unit, we're going to look at Northwest Italy. Then concerning Northwest Italy, concerning what are the main assets, okay, there are 2 main forms of tourism that I don't want to touch, because they are completely different trajectories, that are sea tourism and lake tourism, or mountaineer. I want to go look at more the rural, in the sense of the use of the agricultural landscape.
Then, this kind of villages on countryside you can find in Sicily, in Puglia, in Tuscany as well. It's exactly the same local contest, but in different areas.
Exactly. You're gonna find it around all our countries, because at the end of the day, there in that perspective there are differences for sure, but less than what we can expect.
Sure. So we can have a focus group, for example, in Puglia, another one in Tuscany.
Yes,
that's right. Perfect.
Insofar you can explain me why I've done it. So that's all. I have no problem also in the composition of the panels. You can maybe decide that one focus group is more about Puglia and the other is about Cilento. Just
yeah, because my only concern is about to find 10 people from this kind of industry, exactly in the same place. And I think also that sometimes 10 people working in the same field, maybe they are not so really, I mean, friends, you know.
No, I mean, that is a matter of the focus group. You should not have friends there. You have people, even better if they're not friends, because at least they give you different point of view. Of course, I don't want that the lack of friendship means that they're gonna punch in the face each other when they see. Okay, that is,
all right.
Let's say, that goes into a direct, I will say, completely different direction. But
Perfect.
it's up to you to decide if you wanna base the two focus group on, let's say, more geographical coherent selection. So you take a restaurant owner, a hotel owner, an agency, or something else, or you prefer to do something about restaurants, something about hotels. This is about your convenience. Again, I know exactly the problems of concerning the organization. So please, the only thing you should not do is blended. Okay.
You what?
I'm happy that you say, okay, for us it's impossible to do in person because we decide to make people from the restaurant sector meet and they cannot come in our seats. Fine, we do it online on Skype, Zoom, whatever. Fine, but no blended, because it makes everything go rot. So please, the only thing I ask you, avoid the blended. So or online or in presence. Slightly better in presence than online. If you want to do it online, it's okay. Just let me know that that was organized online, so that actually I know the kind of data you collect. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm that, let's say, passionate about that, but I had to work in the last 2 years on database made on blended data, and no.
Okay.
Because there is always some problem.
Okay.
Any other question?
Yes, I have two questions.
Yes.
Slightly related to what was said before. So we have no problems with the geographic area as we are an island, so it will be okay. But what if we cannot make two focus group or one focus group? Maybe is it possible to make to make individual interviews, or you think it will be too much?
I would prefer to have 3 focus group of 3 people than having 10 interviews, because it's completely different methodology.
Okay.
For that reason, I was suggesting, if it's better in terms of, let's say, practicability, to do online. Because
yes.
I'm pretty much sure that you can gather 5 people on Zoom for an hour or 2.
Yes.
I can understand that they cannot, they may have some problem to reach the same place, in particular because you cannot cover the expenses of their traveling and so on and so forth. For example, just to explain, in my case, I'm working together with a farming organization that is quite active in agrotourism, and I'm working with them. So it's more about, let's say, this organization that is providing some logistic help in gathering the people. Why? Because they are definitely interested in the result of the research. So we exchange data for support. that is at the end of the day also something that is quite linked with the meanings of our project. But I can understand that some of you have no this kind of support. So if you cannot make it in a way, let's do it another, just let me know.
Yeah, the thing is we do have contacts, but it might be difficult to meet them all around the island and to make them come to one place,
Okay.
even if a face-to-face focus group. But
do it online.
Okay. And my second question was about the recording of the interviews.
Yes.
So for us, it will be in French, maybe some Corsican, but mostly in French. So you want us to send it in our native language?
No, I don't want the recording for sure.
Okay.
I mean, you have the recording.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna summarize the recording, or better, you're gonna summarize the focus group results into the table. Summarize it in this case with some details, not just yes or no. I'm gonna go through the details, and if I have some question, I'm gonna ask you to give me more information. Consider that after one day, maybe you are ready to give me back the answer just at the phone. But after 2 weeks, this is a more complex. The recording is useful in that particular situation, so that actually you can go back to the recording and check what happened.
Okay, that's fine. One point I didn't understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Deadline.
Okay, this is something that I would have to ask also Jonel for the organization of the thing. What I was expecting is to have finished everything by mid-July. In terms of this part, I mean, the analysis is gonna be okay. What I would like really is having finished all the focus group and having the data by the end of June. So having all the records concerning your region, the tourist, the biographies, and the focus group summary by June, the end of June, 30 June. Why? Because we're gonna rush through the data by, let's say, mid-July, third decade of July, giving you exact summary of the results, so that actually you can start with the second VP. So I would say indeed a couple of months to finish this task. This is what I would suggest. Then is my leader that should say the last final word about that.
Yes, actually you are right. So you're the expert about the focus group, but yeah, I think you are right. As soon as possible would be the best. So if we can have everything for mid-June and June, it will be good. Also, I wanted to ask because I didn't check the doodle. If everyone answered for our next meeting, I don't know if someone missed it or I didn't check. Anyway, so the next meeting will be around end of May. I think at end of May we can check how far we are from the focus group. Maybe make a point about any problem partners who might have encountered during the focus group. Yeah, I think it's a good option.
A final thing about the materials. So you are going to prepare a lot of things in terms of writing. I know it. Everything is going to be used for the publication when it comes at the end of this VP. So Of course, it comes under your name. For sure, it's going to be an edited volume with all these materials. So it's not just for the sake of this task of the analysis. Is actually something that you are going to provide also as an output of the work. So it's not a waste of time, but is indeed something that is definitely useful. In that perspective, just to say, of course, the territorial, I mean, the summary of the characteristics of the region you are investigating with through your focus group are going to be more or less like you produce the material. For what concerns instead the biographic information, we have to anonymize the data. So for sure, we're going to remove some details to make everything, let's say, anonymous, so to protect the privacy of our informants. So contacts name are not going to be there. The name of the restaurant or the hotel are going to be removed, and so on and so forth. Okay.
All right. Anyone have a question to ask? No. Maybe we can all switch on the cameras to take a picture, screenshot before we leave for the minutes, and then we can all go on. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, perfect.
Super.
Good. So, any question? We can write on the we can write by email, and I think we're good. Michele, maybe you want to add something?
No, I mean, I'm going to send you the materials, roughly speaking, also in the way we discussed before. If you have any question, please do not hesitate to write me or send me, I mean, call me. It's going to be definitely fine, and we're going to find the way through, okay? Super. Thank you all.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.